Hello, Fáilte. This is Laura O'Brien from the Irish Pagan School, and I'm going to give you a slide presentation today for Irish Paganism for Beginners, the history, the gods, and getting started. Now, I wanted to make this really practical, really digestible. I think with everything going on in the world today, that this kind of spirituality that can just fit into our busyness is actually really, really important. So, if you've ever felt a tug in your chest when someone mentions Ireland, like the land itself has whispered your name, please stay with me. I will endeavor to strip away the Celtic flavored noise that we're all wading through and walk a clear Irish path that you can start right now, even if you've only got 10 minutes a day. And I do have a free gift for you. So, Daily Spiritual Practices in Irish Paganism is a free PDF download that you can get. And it is specifically designed for busy lives and offers really quick practices to fit into your day, no matter how hectic it is. And believe me, I know about hectic days. So, I will have this QR code at the end again, but do feel free. There's a couple of other resources through the video for your convenience, all free. And I would love you to check them out and to make sure then as well that you're checking the links in the video or the podcast episode below to make sure that you get access to everything that is free and available and is going to help you in your practice. So, what is Irish paganism? As we practice it at the Irish Pagan School, Irish paganism or contemporary Irish paganism is a modern revival, definitely. We're not claiming ancient lineage or traditions, but it's very much grounded in our island's mythological cycles, the archaeology, the folklore, and our living traditions in our everyday society. So, myself and John, my partner here at the Irish Pagan School, we are living here. We've lived here our whole lives. And as a historian, I have also studied extensively the actual reality of the source material that we have here. And our paganism is really rooted and grounded in that. That's what we teach, that's what we do. So it's not a carbon copy of Wicca, not a catch all Celtic label that smooshes six nations together. We are Irish and we are dealing with Irish traditions, Irish paganism, and very much these living traditions that are a part of our lives. So think of it like restoring an old mosaic. So some tiles are missing, some colors are faded, but when you get it all together, the pattern is unmistakably Irish. So we're looking again at the mythology, the folklore, the archaeology, the history, of course, and then very much our own personal gnosis, our practice, but also that of our students, our comrades, our colleagues, our friends, our fellow teachers at the Irish Pagan School. And when you weave all this together, you get this beautiful blend. So, first, I would like you to meet the gods of Ireland. Now, obviously, this is a very brief run through. We have much more extensive resources on each god and all of the gods of the Tuath on the irishpaganschool.com and also on our blog, on this YouTube channel, on our podcast, all of this good stuff if you want to take any of this further. But the first point I wanted to make is the Irish gods do not fit into neat boxes. And yes, that is deliberate. The categories that you might find in other pantheons really don't apply to the Irish gods because they are of the land, of the people, of this world, of the other world. And very much, they all pitch in and do a bit of everything. So we are going to start with the Dagda. And the Dagda is known as the good god of plenty. And he's very much this barrel chested dad joke energy in my experience with him. But I really think that comes true in the mythology as well. My partner, John, is devoted to the Dagda as a priest and his bard. He tells the Dagda stories and he is a Shanachie. And very much for me, anyway, and I think for a lot of people, he represents the Dagda energy, this healthy masculinity in the world. So that is a good place to start if you are looking for a safe place to land with the Irish gods. Then you have the Mórrígan, the sovereignty and battle strategy. She is not simply a dark goddess or a goddess of death. I myself am devoted to the Mórrígan as her priest for 2 decades, more than 2 decades now. I also run the Mórrígan Academy. And the work that I do as a Mórrígan priest is quite different to the Dagda's energy. They are both devoted to the same cause, I believe, which is, healthy humanity and a good working relationship with the people and the land and the Tuath and the tribes. But the Mórrígan goes about it in a slightly different way. And honestly, working for her is hard work. I do have a whole book coming out that is devoted to the Mórrígan. And that can be found at mórrígan.academy/book, or you can just search for my name, Laura O'Brien, and the Mórrígan, and you will definitely find it. It's available for pre-order as I record this. It's coming out with Llewellyn in August 2025. Then we have Brigid. Brigid is a very popular goddess of Ireland, and I think she really bridges the syncretic blend that we have here between pagan and Christian belief and practice and magic and mysticism, honestly. And Brigid, I would class as a triple brilliance goddess of fire, healing, and poetry. She is the smith in the forge. She is so much more than this, but Brigid is an amazing, amazing ally to have and relationship to form. So again, we have much more available. One of our teachers at the Irish Pagan School is Orla Costello, who is devoted to Brigid. And you can learn a lot really from the courses that we have there. And we also have various blog posts and videos and resources and all the rest of it as well, as mentioned. Then we have Lugh, who is the master of all skills and the patron of getting good at your craft. He's known as the Ildonach, the master of all. He's also known as Lugh Fada of the long arm, possibly for his spear throwing capabilities. But he's a god of light. He's not a sun god. And honestly, even as a god of light, it's really, he is supposed to be so beautiful that like his face gives light, basically. So he's an interesting one because he also is of the three major tribes in Ireland. So his mother and father were of the Tuath and the Fomorians or Forvira, and he was raised then by the Firbolg by Talchu as his foster mother. So Lugh represents multiracialness in Ireland back through our earliest mythology. So it's very important to understand that Irish deities slip between the roles. We have hero, ancestor, spirit. So my best advice would be to loosen your modern categorical grip. Don't try and understand them in any kind of, massively logical fashion, because it really is about right relationship with these gods. It's about building relationship with them. And really, if I had to put my one piece of advice from all of this is you're building relationship with the gods, with the land, with the people, with Ireland itself, with the magic, with the ancestors. All of this is about relationship or right relationships. So taxonomy, that science of categorization, really is beaten out by relationship every time when it comes to Irish paganism. So where do you learn from these sources? Again, myself and John have some books that are available. You can definitely look us up. John O'Sullivan and Laura O'Brien. You can definitely go to the books there. But when it comes to where we learn without face planting and misinformation, unfortunately, there is a lot, let's say, a lot of misinformation out there about Celtic paganism, about Irish paganism, about Celtic spirituality, and again, all of it is kind of lumped together often by English and American authors as this homogenous blob of just Celticness, which is really, really unclear and I think unfair to each of the individual cultures that are involved in this. So, if you want to specifically learn about Irish paganism, I would suggest going back to the original source lore. Now, people groan when I say that because it seems too hard. And, I did promise you simple practices, but a huge part of the work I do and the work we do at the Irish Pagan School is to translate all of this and to make it accessible. So, the information that we have in our medieval manuscripts was written down by Christian monks, but we very much feel that it echoes older traditions and oral lore. And of course, a lot of Irish nativist academics would agree with us, definitely. So, wherever you're at, I would suggest just these tiny, simple practices to explore the original source lore. If you feel that you're too busy and there's no way you could ever get to, reading a whole manuscript, just read one page per day. Just pick a time and stick to it. And again, the daily practices guide will give you time for devotions, time for offerings, and reading one page per day could be that, or a paragraph even from one of the translated manuscripts. If you're committed and you're really into this and you really want to get into this, I would suggest maybe that you compare translations side by side and note the differences, because understanding not just the original source lore, but how it's been treated through the ages, through the decades, through the centuries, through the millennia even, is actually very, very important too. And then if you're seeking connection, I would suggest maybe joining a community. And one of the resources that I've put in place over at the Mórrígan Academy is an exploration of one of the seminal formative texts, really, of the Tuath, which is the cosmology, the Second Battle of Moytura. So there is a whole 4-week exploration of that with a community, a dedicated community, and everything as part of that. So, two of the books that I would recommend if you want to pick up some books and start your library would be The Tawn by Thomas Kinsella, and the collected translations of Morgan Daimler. Now, Morgan Daimler is an American translator who has gone to the bother of learning Old Irish so that we don't have to, and is very much dedicated to making sure that these translations are available. So I would suggest picking up either of these books or both of them. And it really is an excellent start to your Irish Pagan library. And then to get into rituals and practices. Sorry, my voice seems to be letting me down somewhat. But rituals and practices that are simple, sincere, and source aware. Ritual does not have to be complicated. It really shouldn't be complicated. A ritual is something that you can repeat over and over and over again that brings you to a place mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, that gets you in the zone for doing the work that you need to be doing, basically. That's what ritual is. So something as simple as greeting, gifting, and grounding can be your ritual practice. So for greeting, I would suggest to light a candle and say something along the lines of Fáilte a dhéithe na hÉireann. So that simply means welcome to the gods of Ireland. It can be that simple. Or Fáilte a Mórrígan, or Fáilte Dagda, or any of the particular gods that you want to greet and say hello to and begin to start relationship with. You could also welcome in English as well. You don't have to do it in Irish. And you could also then, we're going to be looking at ancestors just briefly, but you could also welcome your ancestors in this way as well. And then gifting is often called offerings. However you want to put it is fine, but it could be water, it could be bread, it could be wine, it could be work you've done, like a poem counts. Your ritual practice could be to write a few lines of a poem as part of the ritual, and that is your gift to them. You say it out loud. And then grounding is really important after any kind of spiritual or magical work. You take a drink, eat something, pour a libation, or just breathe out gratitude. Make sure that, when you breathe in, you're breathing in strength and fresh energy, let's call it. And then when you're breathing out, you're releasing what needs to be let go of, and make sure that you breathe out really, really fully. Now, on this channel, in the Irish Magic, Irish Witchcraft playlist, there are some very, very simple exercises. There's a whole lot about witchcraft and magic, but there are some very simple exercises that you can do. So again, I'm really working very hard to make sure that you have the resources that you need to stay spiritually healthy. So Irish cosmology roots us in place. We have earth, sea, and sky. And holy wells, river spirits, guardian trees are all so important to Irish pagan practice, wherever you are in the world. And if you're city dwellers, please adopt the nearest park, oak, or any tree that's on your walk to work, or anywhere around you. If you only have a balcony, put a plant onto your balcony and make friends with it. Maybe learn its Irish name. You can look that up online. For the oak example, it would be dar. And you could go and you could offer it compost tea, you could offer it a song, you could offer it your litter picking labor. You don't have to be in the middle of the countryside to be a pagan. And actually, we have a class at the Irish Pagan School on urban paganism by another teacher, Geraldine Byrne. So I would highly suggest maybe looking at that if this is something that interests you. And then we have the Ogham symbol for oak, which is dar. Not all the Ogham letters are connected to trees. Out of the 20 original letters, only 6 are actually directly connected to trees, believe it or not. I know everybody thinks it's a Celtic tree calendar. It's not. But I have put up a code here for the Ogham Academy, which I also run. So we run the Irish Pagan School together, and that is very much a collective effort of many teachers. And then the Ogham Academy is mine, and the Mórrígan Academy is mine as well, because special interests are a thing. But just please remember that, like, practical offerings don't have to be expensive props. You really can get started with whatever you have in your house, in your home, in your life. Whatever is important to you, whatever is meaningful to you, is going to be so much more powerful than anything you're going to, buy online. And then I wanted to include just a very brief look at the 4 fire festivals. Now, what we do offer at the Irish Pagan School is extensive classes on all of these, both the theory, the folklore, the history, all of that about the fire festivals, as well as ritual classes for the fire festivals. So all of that is available at the Irish Pagan School. So it's irishpaganschool.com, links below. But also, if you go to our collection of free resources, so this is a different link, and it's irishpagan.school/free, FREE. What you're going to get there is a collection of so many free resources to download. So our classes at the irishpaganschool.com are paid classes, obviously. There are some free ones up there as well, but that's where we put our most extensive material. But for example, in our free resources, what we have is a downloadable cheat sheet for each of the fire festivals. So what's the next fire festival that's coming up whenever you're watching this video? Is it Samhain, where the Otherworld is closer and you can set a plate for the ancestors, which I have changed it a little bit from its original name to better represent non-ableist language. So originally in the traditions, it would have been called the dumb supper, but what that actually means is the silent supper, where people aren't talking, and that would be to represent the ghosts, the ancestors, the spirits that are also present at this supper. So that is one of our very ancient traditions that is still done around Samhain, which would be the 31st of October. Then for Imbolc or Imbolc, either of those spellings are correct, with a G or a C at the end. By the way, the spellings that are on screen are our modern Irish spellings for these festivals. And Irish, again, is part of our living traditions. Gaeilge is our national language. Excuse me, my voice is letting me down slightly here. Gaeilge is our national language. So I do believe that it's very important, again, as part of our living traditions, to make sure that we are working with and using the language as it is in the world today, in the land today. So Imbolc is when we plant our seeds. It's when we do our spring cleaning. It's when we get the first greens that are available. The animals start to produce milk, to give birth, all of that. And it's when we also kindle Brigid's hopeful flame as well. And then at Bealtaine, sorry, Imbolg would be the 1st of February. And then at Bealtaine, what we would have is again, the other world is closer. So Samhain would be the start of winter and Bealtaine would be the start of summer. And probably these were the two original divisions of the year before anything else came into being. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors would have moved their camps basically from summer into winter and vice versa. And these times of change, these liminal times, these times when things were, turned upside down, basically, the other world was also closer. And protection was huge around Bealtaine and Samhain. But at Bealtaine, we would protect from the neighbours. And honestly, that is both our living neighbours, because Irish witchcraft is a thing, and there's a lot of traditions around Bealtaine that would be designed to steal your neighbour's wealth. It's a thing, okay? But protection magic then would be part of that too, but also from the good neighbours, which is what we would call the She or the fairies. And again, there's a huge amount of resources. I've written a whole book on the fairy faith in Ireland. You can definitely look that up if you want to know more about it. But also then traditions like jumping the bonfire for health and well-being would also be part of the Bealtaine festival and traditions. And then, oh, sorry, and Bealtaine, I keep forgetting the dates. Bealtaine would be the Bealtaine Eve is the 30th of April and then into the 1st of May. And the same for Samhain. Samhain Eve is the 31st of October into the 1st of November. So the eves of those two festivals in particular are important. And then Imbolg would be, as I mentioned, the 1st of February, and Lunasa would be the 1st of August. So at Lunasa, we're dealing with the first fruits. The first fruits of our labours start to come through. We're starting to harvest what was sown. We would honour Lugh through crafts. It's a really good time to make agreements and contracts and have festivals and, community gatherings and finish up your crafting projects and kind of commit to what you're doing then for the next year as well. So all of these fire festivals are in a cycle. And I really want you to think cyclically with regard to Irish paganism, because nothing is solid or stuck. Everything is always moving. And then with regard to the afterlife and ancestors, ancestors are kin, not cargo. We still have our relationships with our ancestors, and we treat our dead very reverentially. They're still very much a part of our lives. And, even in a household that's very Catholic here in Ireland, you would see what we might view from a pagan perspective as an ancestor altar, which would have a photograph of the blessed dead, a particular person that you were very close to often, and on their birthday or the date of their anniversary where they died, there would be little offerings made. So maybe a little bit of tobacco if they were a smoker. It would be a little shot of whiskey if they were a drinker. It would be maybe a tiny piece of their favorite food or a sweet that was a particular favorite. So again, we're remembering them on these special days through these cycles of time. So we very much carry them with us, but not as cargo, as allies, and our relationships continue. So to honor the ancestors, I would invite you to light a candle to say the names that you carry, even if you don't know the names, to honor a particular culture maybe that you have ancestry in, that you would like to connect to, and invite them to witness your learning and your growth. And there really is no elaborate rite or ritual required for this. Again, you can use that ritual model, that really, really simple 3-step ritual model, to work with the ancestors as well and to start to build your relationships there. So, contemporary Irish paganism, it's really important to understand that gaps do exist in the sources, and that's reality. It's not a failure. We have no unbroken traditions. And what we're doing is really taking the roots of what still remains in the soil here and in the culture and in our spirit, in our language, in our stories. We're taking those as roots and we're growing our own little garden, and that's what we do at the Irish Pagan School. And there is a fence around that garden, honestly, because it's really important that like invasive species don't get in. We've had centuries of colonization here where our native roots were stamped on and stamped out, rooted out, and they tried to make sure that they never grew again. So that's the metaphor that we would use at the Irish Pagan School, that we are growing our own garden. And there's a gate on that garden. And yes, that means that we get accused of gatekeeping, but it's really important that we understand that the gates are there for everybody's safety and for the reality of what's actually being taught, and to make sure that people are safe and secure within our garden and are learning the right stuff. And, it's not basically a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. And it's really important that we understand that study and practice is dialogue. You learn, you test, the land responds. We have a 3-pillar model that we teach at the Irish Pagan School. We learn, we experience, and we integrate. And that really is how we teach, but also how we practice ourselves. That all of this is, again, a cycle, So for yourself, for you practicing contemporary Irish paganism, I would suggest that if time is tight, you start with a 2, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5-minute morning blessing from the guide. Again, I'll give you that download again. If you are really stuck into it and, really committed to it, then, you're tracking every omen. Please also remember that rest is sacred, and, there's a long road ahead of you. This is a lifetime's work and a lifetime's relationship. So make sure that you don't have to dive into everything head first. Again, when you're learning, make sure that you get the time to experience. When you're experiencing, make sure that you get the time to integrate. So that 3 pillars model is going to keep things healthy for you. And if you're seeking connection, I would suggest that you'd find community and actively share your small wins, your daily or weekly progresses, because belonging really amplifies the work. So when you join our mailing list at the Irish Pagan School, which you will do if you download, now you can unsubscribe anytime, obviously, but if you download any of our free resources, you're on the mailing list, you'll get some welcome emails. But what you'll also get is an invitation, for example, to our second Saturday session, which we do every month, where the community just hops on a Zoom chat, basically. It's all free again. You get the invite through the mailing list. And it's just a social session for people to connect, to share wins, to just be a part of community I know it's still online, but at least, it's more real time than digital formats. But we do also have at the Irish Pagan School, we run a couple of Facebook groups, but we also have a private community through our irishpaganschool.com. So if you enroll over there, you can see access to the community group there, which is quiet at the moment, honestly. But again, if people want it, then get involved, because belonging amplifies the work. So our daily spiritual practices in Irish paganism are available. It's free, it's focused, and it'll slot into whatever life schedule you are wrangling, you're dealing with at the moment. So please do download that and have it as a resource for yourself. And in the comments below, let me know which festival is your favorite and why. I'm always really fascinated how people connect to the fire festivals, particularly, and what's coming up next. Do you have any plans for it? Again, that kind of connects us into part of the cycle through the comments in the video as well, through the YouTube community, to make sure that there is connection there as well. So I hope that that has been useful for you here from the Irish Pagan School. And I would just say slán go fóill, check out our links, check out our resources, and mind yourselves, because it's tough out there. So hopefully we are doing what we can to make it just that little bit easier for you and safer and healthier. Slán.